The British Commonwealth Air Training Plan was a program set up in Canada to train pilots during the Second World War. This plan was created by the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. The BCATP is still the largest individual air training plan. This plan was responsible for training nearly half of all the Allies' air forces during the Second World War. Once this program had come to an end, there had been 130,000 aircrew members trained and another 80,000 men trained as the ground crew. Under a deal signed in 1939, Canada agreed to become the provider of facilities and training for airmen from every part of the Commonwealth. This was ideal because Canada was well suited for this program. With the wide open spaces and good flying conditions, it was also a very long distance from the fighting. The BCATP was an enormous undertaking for the RCAF because they only had 400 personnel and only facilities for 400 ground crew trainees per year. Now the RCAF had to build air bases, acquire aircraft, recruit instructors, and develop training schools for different specialties. By war's end, there were 151 training schools, and every province had BCATP installations. To U.S. President Roosevelt, and in his own words, Canada was the aerodrome of democracy. During the time of its operation, the BCATP employed 3,540 aircraft, 33,000 Air Force personnel, and 6,000 civilian employees. Also during this time, the government built 7,000 hangars and barracks and drill halls for the air bases and training schools. Under the original agreement to establish the BCATP, the estimated cost was $750 million. These costs quickly escalated far beyond the 1939 estimates. In the end, Canada paid $1.6 billion of the total cost of $2.2 billion. In today's world, that meant that each taxpayer had to pay $3,000 just to pay for the BCATP. By the end of the war, the RCAF had 72,835 graduates. The Royal Australian Air Force had 9,606 graduates, and the Royal New Zealand Air Force had 7,002 graduates. The Royal Air Force, which included the countries Poland, Norway, Belgium, the Dutch, the Czechs, and Free French, had 42,110 graduates. The Naval Fleet Air Arm also trained at BCATP schools and had 5,296 graduates.
The official opening of the Defoe Air Training Base took place on May 22, 1941. Wing Commander R.A. Delhay was the first commanding officer with 43 officers, 486 airmen, 126 personnel other than RCAF. The first 69 trainees arrived on May 26th. At the school's maximum, it could accommodate 366 trainees. This air training school was one of 5 set up in Canada as part of the BCATP. Throughout the period of operation, the Defoe Air Training Base was an active, busy, and successful school, this creating an impact on the community of Quill Lake. The first aircraft used on the old station were ferry battles, 37 of them. Later, Anson's, Bolingbroke, Lysander, and the odd Harvard were brought on.
Trainees at the Defoe Air Base came from various places in the Commonwealth. They came from Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. The Defoe Air Base grew so rapidly that they came to name it Boomtown.
There were several different types of planes used in the BCATP. The planes they used were the Ferry Battle, the Bristol Bolingbroke, the Avro Anson, and the Westland Lysander. These planes were used for a variety of things, which included light bombing, reconnaissance, and liaison. They are also used for other small missions and training.